Over 4,000 people auditioned for 4 available roles in my debut short film, The Call. Today, I'm going to tell you everything I learned while watching all of those submissions and how you can use it to make your next audition stand out. My name's Kyle Dalsimer. I'm an actor best known for my work in musical theater, but this summer, I was able to get my very first short film made as a writer, director, and producer. When I put out the casting call on Actors Access, I could never have imagined that 4,387 people would audition for one of the 4 available roles in my short film. Together with one of my co-producers, we went through each and every submission and narrowed it down to about 20 to 25 people per role that we wanted to see submit tapes with material from the film. We asked them to tape, watch them, and from there, we picked our actors. Now that's about 1,000 people auditioning per role that we had available. That sounds pretty scary, right? Harvard University has an acceptance rate of 3.5%, so statistically that would make our short film 35 times harder to get into than Harvard? Well, that doesn't make any sense. But before you run for the hills or give in to despair, let me show you what you can do to stand out and make those odds infinitely better. By the time you finish this video, you'll have the skills to change that 0.1% chance into something much, much better. Now, as we've already touched on, the first step in getting a role isn't auditioning, but is submitting to hopefully get asked to audition. As I said before, we had on average 1,000 people, or a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the role, audition for each character in our film. And of those 1,000 or so people, only 20 or 25 of them actually got requests from us to submit material from the film. Now, why is that? Well, a couple reasons. And the biggest one is time and manpower. We simply, on our small budget short film with a very ragtag team of people working for no money, did not have the resources or the time to look through 1,000 audition tapes or even 100 of them. So we had to narrow it down to our 20 to 25 from that group that we thought might be the best people for the role. Now, if you're an actor like me, you've probably sent in hundreds, if not thousands, of submissions to casting calls over the course of your career. Maybe you've got an agent who submits you for projects, or maybe you do it on your own. Either way, today I'm going to show you what the people on the other side of the table see when you send in that submission. Here is the homepage for my film, The Call, on Actors Access. On the casting side, it's called Breakdown Express. Here you can see that this project is archived, meaning it's no longer accepting submissions. On the right, you can see each role, a character description, and the material that we attached for callbacks. On the left, we've got these columns with a bunch of numbers on them. So let's take a look at those really quick. We've got unviewed, viewed, selected, and not selected. So what does that mean? I only looked at 23 of the girls who submitted for my lead role? Well, no, of course not. Those 23 are profiles I interacted with, but did not give a score to. We'll come back to that. On the far left, you've got 200, 300, or even more in each role that says unviewed. Well, Kyle, you said you looked at everyone. Well, yes, I did, but those are profiles I did not interact with, and I'll show you why in just a moment. But first, let me show you an example of what your page should look like. I'm going to use my wonderful and very talented friend Deanna's submission as an example. So everybody head to the comments and thank Deanna for letting us use her in this video. Now, as you can see, her profile shows up with her headshot, a bunch of blue buttons, her name, rep, which shows up as Actors Access because she submitted herself for this role instead of having her agents do it for her, the project name, and the role she was auditioning for. Now let's get back up to these 4 buttons. On the far left is her resume, so if I click on that, it shows me all of her credits. The camera button has all of her alternate headshots and looks, and the video camera has clips she submitted along with her audition. These can be acting or performing clips of any kind, but for this role, I specifically asked actresses for an acting clip and a singing clip, as this character needs to sing at the start of my film. But that leads perfectly into my first tip on how to stand out and what 1,000 people did to immediately eliminate themselves from consideration for my movie. Tip number 1, you cannot submit without sending video footage. Now, I'm going to blur the screen, but this is what a profile looks like when it's missing some of these elements. If I'm casting my movie, you may be absolutely perfect for the part, but if I can't see a video of you performing, there's no world where I can take one of those very few 20 to 25 slots for an audition in the hope that you might be great. I've also seen examples like this one where people will put a link to their acting reel in the comments of their submission. That doesn't work either, most notably because Breakdown Express, aka Actors Access, automatically sorts all submissions without a video to the back. So casting will not even see your submission unless they have seen every single other person who did send an audition clip. Now, I am not a professional casting director, but when my co-producer and I were going through all of those submissions, when we got to the ones that had a gray box on that camera icon instead of a blue one, it was just an immediate disqualification for us. It's too competitive, too time-consuming, and we did not have the resources to guess whether or not someone was a good actor just based off of a headshot and maybe a resume. Now, let's head back to Deanna. As you can see, we've got numbers from 1 to 6 above her name, and I've clicked 1. What does that mean? Well, depending on who's casting the project, it can mean pretty much anything. The team at Breakdown Express gave casting these buttons to categorize and sort their submissions however they need. I've heard of casting directors using it to sort different types of actors within a role, others having very specific meaning attached to each number, but for me, it was very simple. Based on headshots alone, 1s were moved on to the next round of cuts, 2s and 3s I wanted to come back to and give another look, and anyone who got a 4, 5, or a 6 wasn't right for the character and was cut. But Kyle, I hear you yelling at your screen, you just said that sending in a video is the bare minimum. Now you're telling us you don't even watch all of them? That's correct. And honestly, it was the thing that shocked me the most about being on the other side of the table for the casting process. Remember, I'm an actor too, so I've sent in countless submissions to casting calls, and realizing that a lot of the time, people don't even watch the videos you've sent in with your work and just cut you based off your headshot? Yeah, it really sucks. But the fact is, about 2 hours into our first casting session, my co-producer looked at me and she said, Kyle, we've looked at less than 100 submissions in 2 hours. I know you want to pick good people, but we cannot sit here and watch everyone's acting reels or else we'll never actually finish casting. And she was right. She was completely right, so we had to make cuts based on how people looked. It could be as simple as them being too young for a role, too old, too muscular, too friendly looking, or even something as silly as the actor looking too much like they might be family with one of our co-leads who we'd pre-cast. I gotta be honest, this was probably the hardest thing about casting. It really sucked, and I am sure that there were numerous people that we cut in that first round with typeouts who would have turned in phenomenal performances. But at the end of the day, they didn't fit the image for the character that I had in my mind. And so for that reason, we had to move forward with the people who did. After our typeout, we were left with, on average, just about 100 people per role. That means that of the over 1,000 people who originally submitted for this film, only about 10% of them actually got to the stage where we looked at their footage. Now, I want to make it very clear that these were not all just one type per character. We had an idea of the essence for a lot of these roles, but they weren't locked down, which meant that a lot of characters had people of different heights, of different ethnicities, even a couple roles where we had people of different genders who were all in consideration for this character. One way or the other, in looking at their headshots and looking at their resumes, we felt that they could play this character. And now it came down to watching their acting footage. So, how did we cut down from that 100 to the 25 or 20 that we actually asked to send in a tape? Well, it leads into tip number 2. Tip number 2, real acting clips are always better than self-tape clips. Now, I want to make it very clear again that this is just my experience from being on the other side of the table, and if a casting director or your agent tells you to do something differently, please do that. With that said, we found that even a low budget or poorly shot clip of you acting in a film is infinitely better than watching you do a monologue in front of your self-tape setup or even doing a scene with an offstage reader. Don't have any film acting credits yet? That's totally fine. Here's a scene I shot on an iPhone and a tripod with my friend Fisher 2 years ago so that we could both have a film clip for our reels. No crew, no lighting setups, just us hanging out at his apartment doing a scene that I wrote on the train ride over. That's all you need. Seeing someone actually acting as a character in a scene, even if it's not high budget or well shot, gives us a chance to see you really act. Which leads me to another tip. Tip number 3, labeling your clips. Now, if you've got a scene playing opposite a famous actor or you were on a popular TV show or a movie, please list that. There is nothing cooler than opening someone's video tab and going, oh wow, he was on Severance, I love that show. Or, oh my gosh, she's got a scene with Will Ferrell, I've got to watch that. But most of us getting our start don't have one of those. But maybe you've got a scene from a short film, or you've got a clip from a student film, or maybe you filmed some content of your own like we just talked about in the previous tip. In those situations, don't list that clip under the name of the project. Instead, list it under a synopsis and a little bit of information about the character. For example, this actor not only lists the genre the scene is in, but gives a quick breakdown of the character or what's going on in the scene. This actor made it to the callback/audition stage of our auditions in no small part because he sent us great clips that were very clear and didn't make us have to hunt through his video to find a scene that was relevant to the type of acting we wanted for that character. We could simply look at the clips and go, oh, cop probing victim. That might sit in a similar world as the character he's auditioning for. Let's watch that. After watching everyone's acting clips, we were able to narrow down to the 20 to 25 actors per role that we wanted to see do scenes from the film. Now, the people that we cut weren't necessarily bad actors. A lot of them just didn't fit the vision that we had for the character after we saw them perform. Whether their voice sat in a different register than we anticipated, or they carried themselves in a way that we didn't think fit the role, or something as simple as realizing that the trends in other characters meant that they wouldn't fit alongside the people that we were probably going to cast opposite them. And now is the time in this video where I remind you of something you've probably heard a million times already in your acting career, but I found was so true sitting behind the table. Not getting a role or not getting a callback does not mean that you are not good at what you do. So many other factors are involved. Whether you don't fit the director's vision in their head for the character, whether you happen to be watched by the casting director on a day where they're not paying attention, whether they've already picked someone for the role and they're just doing the casting call as a formality. So much of it doesn't have to do with you, which is why doing everything that is in your control to the best of your abilities is so important. That's it on submissions. Let's move on to the actual audition callback round. Now, for this project, we knew we didn't have the time or frankly the budget to do in-person callbacks. It simply wasn't going to be in the cards for us. So instead, we did our callback round fully through Actors Access. Here's what it looked like. As you can see, each tab has the name of the film, the character, and callback behind it. As we head into the callback portal, I'll obviously be blurring people's names, faces, and their callback material, but what I will show you is very interesting. As you can see, on the right side of the actors panel is a letter and a camera icon. What do those mean? Well, just like how Breakdown Express gave us those 1 through 6 numbers on submissions, they gave us an A, B, and C button on here for casting directors to use to sort their applicants. Once again, I'm sure different people have different uses, but mine was very simple. A, I'm strongly considering you for the role. B, I need to watch you again, but I think you could do it. And C, you're not what I'm looking for. The camera icon means that they have already sent in their audition tape. Now, as we scroll down, we can see a couple of people without cameras. That's because they, for whatever reason, couldn't or didn't send in a self-tape and pulled themselves from consideration. This leads me to my next tip. Tip number 4, if you have to decline an audition, always send a message. It can be as simple as a little message that says no longer available for the dates, or you can add your own flair to it, but whatever the case is, make sure to send that message. If you don't, it kind of hurts our feelings. I know that might sound silly, but it shocked me how attached I got to some of the actors who were auditioning for my film. Think about it. Over the course of casting, we're seeing your face over and over, watching your acting clips for days, if not weeks on end. So when we finally get to that callback process, there are certain people who I feel like I've got a connection to, who I'm rooting for, who I'm excited for, and I hope sends in a killer tape so I can offer them the role. So then when one of those people doesn't send a tape and doesn't even send a message explaining why, it kind of hurts. And it makes you feel like maybe I should have given that opportunity to one of the people that I cut earlier on. Let's head back into the EcoCast portal and take a closer look at what casting sees when you send in your callback. Once again, we're using our friend Deanna as an example. If you haven't done it already, head into the comments and say, "Thank you, Deanna." As you can see on the left, we've got Deanna's headshot as well as all of her information, and that little icon with the camera shows that she did send in her audition tapes. So let's go take a look at the media tab. Tip number 5, labeling your EcoCast tapes. The most important thing is to read what your EcoCast request says. Some casting directors are very particular about how you label your files and even how you order them. If you've got specific directions, follow those to a T. If not though, you can see right here that Deanna has listed her name and the name of the role on each clip. Since it's all under her tab with her face and name in multiple places on my screen and in the Addy folder, I don't need her to do that. Some casting directors ask for it, and when they do, make sure you give it to them. But if not, make sure to follow Deanna's example and list what the clip is, whether it's a scene, song, monologue, etc., right up front so we know what we're looking at, name and character name optional. So, how did we narrow our search from the 20 to 25 finalists that we had tape material from the film to our one person that we offered each role? Well, in some situations, they made the decision for us. The actress we ended up casting as Susan, who ironically is a casting director, was the first person who sent us their material back. Less than 24 hours after we sent the audition tapes out to all of the actresses that we were considering for that role, we had a tape back from her, which meant that she was the first person we watched. She was wonderful, and for the rest of the casting process, even though there was over a week left to submit their tapes, everyone else who sent in their tapes was being compared to her. Which leads us to our next big tip. Tip number 6, send your tape in early. I know that sometimes it feels like you've got all the time in the world when you get a tape request that's due a week or a week and a half in the future. But don't just sit on it. Make sure that you sit down, work on the material, get comfortable, and put it on tape. If you don't like what you see, that's fine. You're still early, so you can take another day and then try it again. But whatever you do, don't wait till the last minute. Casting isn't waiting until the last minute. They're watching submissions as they come in. So if you send in an amazing tape 5 hours before the deadline, it might not even matter because someone who sent in a similar quality of tape 5 days ago may have already won casting over. The fact of the matter is, I'm almost certain that we would have cast Kathleen to play Susan no matter when she sent her tape in. Not only was her acting amazing, but she embodied the character exactly how we envisioned her. But by submitting that tape within the first 24 hours, she made a power play and really took control of that casting process. Tip number 7, if they send you the script, read it. Now, I know this might sound like a big commitment for a feature film or for a full-length stage play, but especially when it comes to short films like mine, if casting sends you the script, make sure to read it. There is so much information in there that informs what you're doing and can inform your performance. For example, in my film, 3 of the lead actors sit behind a desk for the entirety of the film. They never get up, they never move around, they sit behind a desk. One of the people who sits behind the table the entire film is a character called Damien. We got a lot of great audition tapes for that role, but the best ones were when actors decided to film it while sitting behind a table of their own. Those actors got to show us exactly what they would look like in the world of the film. They would look off screen to their left and their right to see the characters who also sit at the table with them. They would look forward to see what was going on in front of them. And it helped tremendously in helping us decide who was going to fit in our world. One of the actors who did that was the actor we ended up casting in the role. Which leads me to another tip. Tip number 8, take a risk, build the world a little bit. My rule of thumb is, if it's in the sides you're given and you're not explicitly told not to do it, everything is fair game. If your character has a pencil, you can have a pencil. If your character's sitting at a desk, why not sit at a desk? If your character's got a backpack, have a backpack. I think it all works, and it only helps to build the universe of what you would look like in that character. Tip 9, make a choice. Of the 22 actresses we selected as finalists for the lead role, Addie, 3 of them had booking conflicts, 2 of them did not send in their tapes before our deadline, which meant that we were left with 17 final options. Of those 17 women, they all did a good job with their song and their scene, but 3 stood above the rest, not necessarily because they were better actors or singers, but because they all brought a bold, dynamic take to the characters that leapt off the screen and felt real to us when we watched them. Funny enough, all 3 of them brought completely different takes to the character. The first was quiet, innocent, meek. The second was bold, brash, confident. And the third was calm, calculated, with a quiet confidence about her. Each one of these ladies could have starred in my film and would have done an amazing job, I have no doubt. But each one of those films would have been a completely different story because of what they brought to the table. It was a long process where I debated with my co-producers, talked with mentors, but I ended up casting that third and final actress. Her take on the character was almost beat for beat what I had imagined when I'd written the role almost a year before. It was the best decision I could have ever made. With that said, if another director was taking on this script, they could have picked one of those other actresses because they fit their vision for the character and been equally as happy with that as I was with my decision. Which leads us to the final tip. Tip number 10, in the end, it's out of your hands. Make sure you send a video with your cold call submissions, that you've got good headshots, that your files are labeled well, that when you get that tape request, you send it in early, that you make bold choices. All of these things are so important, but at the end of the day, the decision is out of your hands. That was the hardest thing for me to grasp as an actor throughout my career, and I feel like being a casting director on this project has finally given me the peace to know that all I can do is my best. Even if it doesn't go your way, it doesn't mean that you are less worthy, that you are less good. It just means you weren't right for this one. Well, if you've made it this far in the video, I hope you enjoyed and maybe even learned something. As an actor, it often feels like we are going through the world blind, so I hope this video helped pull the curtain back just a little bit and gave you something exciting to think about, whether it's in your auditions, in your submissions, or just navigating life in this industry. Thank you again to Deanna for allowing us to use you as an example. I put her social media in the links down below so that you can follow her and show her some love. I've also put links to the trailer for the call as well as our Instagram, so you can follow that if you're interested in keeping up with our festival run. And in the meantime, let me know if you're interested in me making any other content, any other questions you have, comments, stories, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And with all that being said, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.